Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
This is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast with hands. Because this week we read Mad Dogs and Englishmen.
Written by Paul Magrs. Paul Magrs. I don't know, it's Paul Magrs.
Well, I mean, that's how we pronounced his name the first time. I guess released in January of 2002. Completely forgot how we do these book introductions.
Probably something like that. Let's just go with that.
Released on the 7th of January 2002. Those 7 days, very important.
Yeah. So this is the 100th BBC Doctor Who novel. Just reading that off the cover.
Yeah, they printed the Doctor Who logo in glossy gold. Though it looks more like bronze to me.
Yeah, it looks more gold on the internet. And on the reading off the back here, the greatest book ever written.
Which
isn't true, but it is probably my favorite Doctor Who book that I read, and one of my favorite Doctor Who stories ever, including all the TV
It's not
episodes.
even close on either of those lists for me. You really oversold this book to me before I read it.
Well, a lot of people hate it, but a lot of people also love it.
I don't hate it.
Oh, well.
I just like it.
All right. Well, a lot of people hate it.
Yeah,
people say
I
it's
can see
terrible.
why. Honestly,
Yeah, because they hate fun and are terrible people.
no. Maybe it's because the plot doesn't
Is
really
great.
make any sense.
Makes sense to me.
And
That's all that matters. Anyway, yeah, so
it begins with Reginald Tyler walking through the village going, just working on my book, The True History of Planets. I wasn't sure if Reginald Tyler was a real person or not, but I didn't bother to look up to see if he was.
No, he wasn't, because he was supposed to be like J.R.R. Tolkien, and then his buddy was supposed to be like C.S. Lewis, because, yeah, you know, like how,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, they had
J.R.R.
that
Tolkien was like, I'm going to
meeting.
work on this crap for 50 years.
Yeah, except
Lord of the Rings,
except
that
Lord of the Rings is good, and apparently The True History of Planets is really dull, boring, and just bad, according to the people in the book who've read it. The original version, anyway.
Yeah, well, that is quickly fixed by the addition of dogs, man's best friend.
Fixed is not the term I would apply here.
Yeah, you use a neutered or spade.
No, that's not the word I would use either.
Anyway, in a hotel, probably thousands of miles away.
In the future.
Uh,
It's like a space hotel designed to look like a sleepy seaside British village for some baffling reason.
oh, I didn't remember that. Yeah, one thing that was weird about this is that this is an Eighth Doctor book, right? But I just imagined it with the Fourth Doctor for the entire thing.
Oh, I imagined it with the Eighth Doctor. But it was difficult because they didn't give us any description of what he looked like, except for the fact that he had a beard and he's wearing a blue velvet coat.
Yeah, I missed the part where he has a beard.
Yeah, there's like 2 throwaway lines where the Doctor's just rubbing his beard, confused about things, and then the wiki's like, the Doctor still has a beard in the notes and continuity section. I'm like, wait, what? So apparently in one of the previous stories he grew a beard just to grow a beard, and there's like a comic illustration of the Eighth Doctor with a beard on that page. Thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, apparently the 99th BBC Doctor Who novel is like similar to this, like kind of funny, like a really adventurous and cool story, etc. So
It's kind of weird because the end of the novel seems to imply that they have this overarching plot through a couple novels that's kind of tragic and dark, where the Doctor's like lost all his memory from pre-Eighth Doctor incarnations.
yeah, well, that's not too big of a point in this.
No, but it's still kind of weird.
Anyway, so the characters in the hotel are like the owner or whatever, the manager.
Who's like a
who's
bored
not-
person, apparently.
Yeah. And Flossie, who's the head cook.
Yeah, so there's like a symposium going on for, I guess, people who are experts in 20th century human science fiction literature.
Yeah, aliens who are experts in...
And there's these 2 guys who are talking, one of whom isn't important because he never shows up in the novel again, but the other one is this insect creature named Aphid Jag. And he's
Yeah.
kind of important because the TARDIS materializes and supposedly crushes him.
Yeah.
And then while they're walking,
Oh,
while they're getting
they're-
taken away, the Doctor's rubbing his beard like something's wrong here.
They're talking about the true history of planets, by whatever his name
Reginald Tyler.
Reginald Tyler, yeah.
I just read this book yesterday, so... Or
they're
most
like, hey,
of it,
how
anyway.
about that true history of planets? And one guy's like, yeah, how about those dogs? And the guy's like, wait, what? And I don't remember if they bring that up yet, but probably do. Probably do.
Well, they do when they get taken to the hotel manager's office, and he's talking about how he can't have murderers running around on his space station.
Wow, jerk.
And the guy, the doctor's like, what? And then the guy's like, yeah, you just killed Aphid Jag, who was going to give the talk on the dogs in Reginald Tyler's book. And the doctor's like, wait a minute, what?
I don't remember
What
any dogs
dogs?
in that. I've read that since I'm the doctor, and of course I've read every book ever. Can't have me characterized as not having done something.
Well, I mean, by the 8th incarnation, he's been living for like 900 years, so I'm not surprised he's read like a substantial portion of human literature.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Especially since in the 70s he spent so much time on Earth, he probably read it when he was there. He's like, oh man, let's pick up this book from the bookshop. He supposedly has a copy in the TARDIS library, but Fitz can't find it. Oh yeah, the Doctor's companions.
Yeah,
Fitz
Angie
and
Fitz.
Angie.
I loved these two. They had so much more character than the usual companion, in my opinion.
really?
Fitz more so than Angie. Really liked Fitz. I liked Angie too, but
I liked Fitz more than Angie. We didn't get we got more Fitz in the
we got
story
more
than
Fitz.
Angie.
Yeah.
So
Fitz was sort of like a kind of bumbling but like lovable. So
wouldn't say that. He's kind of a devilish rogue, really, because he spends most of his time smoking fags and gambling in the casino.
yeah, what's not to love?
Lung cancer.
You don't love lung cancer?
No, not
Gotta
really.
embrace lung cancer. I mean, we're gonna get it since we record in a garage full of sawdust. Gotta welcome it with open arms. You're just gonna be disappointed when you
I
get
don't know
it.
if we've made this joke on the podcast before, but this podcast might literally be killing us.
No, I think we've made that joke like 5 times already. But it's all for the sake of entertainment, so it's worth it, I guess. I mean, I say that now that I'm not diagnosed, but who knows? Anyway, yeah, Angie gets less. Angie's kind of like the voice of reason.
Kind of, but she's also like, why doesn't the Doctor take me home if he can accurately pilot the TARDIS to these really specific moments in history, but he can't supposedly take me home?
Yeah, like the thing with the Doctor's memory, this seems to be setting up something greater. I don't know if they follow up on it, and I'll probably never know. Well, for a couple years at least.
Well, they do, apparently, because I've been skimming pages on the wiki for Doctor Who novels. And apparently they do have a bunch of arcs in the 8th Doctor novels, surprisingly.
Gotta give the 8th Doctor something.
Yeah, I guess, since all he had was that TV movie. So, anyway.
They meet up with...
Well, they convince the hotel manager to let them go for 6 hours till intergalactic police arrive, since they're going to take like 6 hours to get to the station. The hotel.
Yeah, and they meet, what's-her-face?
Flossie.
No, the
they meet with
agent.
Milda Slike first.
Oh, I thought it,
Midas like,
Midas,
sorry.
yeah. I thought she was gonna have some like, because I thought it was like Midas like King Midas. So I thought she was gonna have like gold related powers or something. Apparently not.
Would have tied into that supposedly gold embossed cover.
Yeah, sure.
Still looks bronze.
It's gold plated.
It's bronze.
No, it's bronze plated. Tying into how this book is really oversold and disappointed probably hundreds or thousands of people. I don't know if thousands of
people. I don't know if thousands of people
read.
Oh.
Yeah, I've read. This is the 21st book that I've read this year, and
Jesus.
the best book that I've read this year, and the 71st book I've read in the last year and a half. So I read 50 last year. Yes, I'm bragging right now. I've read 50 last year, 21 this year. This is probably, it's in the top 3 that I've read. Yeah. It's just so enjoyable. We haven't even gotten to the dogs yet.
I don't know if I think this cracks my top 5 for the past 2 years. Pretty sure I've only read 12 books in the past 2 years. Anyway, the Doctor Midas-like dies, apparently.
Yeah, so like, who's killing off all these people on this station?
Oh yeah, she mentions Meow, by the way.
Yeah, Meow, who I vaguely encountered before in something else. I don't remember.
We met him in Find and Replace, the third Doctor audio, the very first audio we did on this show. Also written by Paul Magrs.
Yeah, so Meow stands for Ministry of Intergalactic something. I don't remember.
And ontological
wonders, probably. Just making this up, but whatever.
I mean, because in the audio we thought it was Meow, M-E-O-W, because we never saw it written out, but then they like spelled out the acronym M-I-A-O-W, and I'm like, I don't know if you'd pronounce that Meow.
Apparently you do. Well, I mean, I don't know. So yeah, she dies, and they think the Doctor and Angie and Fitz are the ones committing the murders. Kind of makes sense, I guess. So they lock them up in the kitchen. In a freezer, I think.
Yeah.
Sounds painful.
Maybe we'll just die here. The Doctor's reading, Fitz went and picked up a new copy of The True History of Planets, the dog version.
Yeah, and the Doctor's like speed reading this 700-page book. It's what I did with Lord of the Rings, so can't blame him. I mean, earlier you said that we compared it to Lord of the Rings, which is like it's supposed to be, I guess. You said it sounds a lot more boring than Lord of the Rings, but I don't know. I haven't read The True History of Planets, obviously, since it's not a real book. But based on the descriptions of it, the dog version at least sounds a heck of a lot more interesting than Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is one of the 71 books I read in the past year and a half, and that cured my insomnia there.
Wow, I liked Lord of the Rings a lot, actually, and I don't usually read fantasy ever, so...
Well, you're reading
I'm
it
just
now.
going by what they say in the book. I mean, the Doctor even explicitly says the original was really dull and boring.
Yeah, the original sounds kind of dull and boring. The dog version sounds pretty great.
The dog version is just what we read in this book. What happens with the princess.
They kind of... They summarize it.
Yeah, so... we know exactly what happens in the dog version. Pretty much
but it's a summary version.
Yeah,
so.
But I think I can still make this unilateral judgment that it sounds just as dull and boring, to be honest.
All right. Anyway, yeah, he's reading it. Flossie, the head cook, confronts them or something. And they're like, hey, Flossie.
She's outside.
Why don't you let us out? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Well, actually what happens is a dog shows up and she wants to get at a bone, so she goes inside and the Doctor and them are quote-unquote sleeping, but then Angie threatens to snap Flossie's neck, and I was like, that's a bit violent.
I don't remember that.
She's got her in like a headlock. It's like, I'm gonna kill you. Doc's like, Angie, it's not how we do things.
Yeah, and apparently it's not, because Flossie becomes a companion for this, at least. She was one of the best characters in this, honestly. Yeah, and meanwhile, we've been cutting back to Reginald Tyler walking around.
On the final day of his life.
Yeah, it's
a lot of vignettes into the final days of people in this story.
Yeah, so for Reginald Tyler, the story sort of skips back and forth between time periods. So like first we got an earlier period in his life, and now we're skipping to the last day of his life. Which is kind of cool. I really liked it. Really switched things up, and a lot of modern books do that. So
yeah, I liked it. But it did the thing that I hated in Neverending Story one time, where it was talking about Enid, and then it was like, but that's a story for another time.
It's a very nitpicky thing.
Really want to just throw the book out the window right there.
It's a really I mean, you shouldn't read Crime and Punishment then, because we were talking about that the other time. Literally the last line in that book is, well, it's not exactly, but it's like, well, that's another story for another time.
I mean, that's fine. Like I said in the Neverending Story episode, I just hate when the book doesn't focus on the story it's telling now and then has to be all smart and clever by being like, look at these other stories that exist that we could tell.
For Neverending Story, it makes a lot of sense just based on the story of that book.
Yeah, kind of.
For this, I mean, I wouldn't have even minded anyway, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
It's just annoying because it was like, well, why even bring it up then? Like,
just a cool line.
Why did you? Well, because
I don't remember where it is in the book. So.
It shows up. It's talking about how Enid, after Reginald Tyler would die, would go on to sell the book for lots of money, and then would go and retire in Jamaica or wherever with all the money.
That comes up at the end, though.
I mean, kind of, but the timeline has changed. Because in the original, she doesn't marry William Freer. In the new timeline, she does. So, I mean, it's not even the same as what happened in the original timeline.
No, I'm pretty sure she does. I'm pretty sure there's a line, like, in the first chapter or something like that.
I don't think it was William Freer. I think she remarried, but I don't think it was William Freer.
Yeah, so the Doctor and Angie Fitz and Flossie head out. I think at this point, we get Reginald Tyler's last day where he falls into her. This is the best chapter in the book, in my opinion. If this was like a standalone short story with all the, well, not all the references to the rest of the book and Doctor Who, because there weren't really many, but this was really a cool part of the book.
Where the dog just shows up and he's like, wow, I must be hallucinating.
Yeah, I really liked that part where he falls down in the river. This is just like a really cool little piece of someone's last day of their life, and the dog shows up and you're like, man, that's really creepy.
I didn't find it creepy at all. I just thought it was weird.
This is like bordering horror territory.
Really?
For me, yeah.
Yeah, okay, you need to expand your horizons.
Well, everyone has different things that they think are scary, so most horror movies don't actually scare me, but this did. So.
Kind of weird. Kind of weird. Especially since this was the only blue poodle in the entire story. All the other ones were either pink, red, or orange.
Huh. Well, I didn't... The dogs are apparently actually dog size. I just imagine them all human size, though, so...
That's because some of them walk on their hind legs. Like the blue poodle now, when Reginald Tyler almost dies, is walking on his hind legs.
Yeah, they all walk on their hind legs, but...
I just imagine them walking like on all fours all the time for some reason. I don't know why.
Oh. Well, okay, then.
Do they have hands on all four legs? Do they, like, walk on hands?
I don't know.
Or do they have, like, human feet on the legs that they walk on? This wasn't fleshed out in the novel.
Yeah, I don't know.
By the way, there's an illustration of one of the dogs on the cover with human hands. Kind of terrifying.
It's the princess.
It's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it is. So. See, it's horror-like.
I mean, that's just the design of the animals, though. The whole scene with the dog showing up when Reginald Tyler's dying didn't...
I mean, on the one hand, it was actually hilarious. On the other hand, it was incredibly creepy.
I mean, I thought he was just hallucinating.
Face down was also really freaking creepy, too.
I mean, I thought he was just hallucinating, but then the final line of the chapter was like, this is how he would have died in the normal timeline. I was like, oh, okay. His dogs are pretty overpowered too, by the way, because they can just freely travel through time without even requiring any sort of machine to do so.
And there's that bloodbath at the end. That was pretty great. So anyway, the Doctor and co. arrive on the Dog World spaceship.
Yeah, because the Doctor finds the coordinates disguised as a printing error in the book.
It's pretty funny.
Kind of have to wonder who disguised these coordinates as a printing error in the book, but anyway, it's not important.
One thing I really loved about this book is how it's like, it's an actual really funny and just kind of wacky story, but then like it's also like an actual good and serious story with like cool plot twists at the end too. And that's like the best kind of story. Like, right? One that just makes you love reading it. Because I don't know.
Still kind of overselling this.
I mean, I really enjoyed reading this. I was just turning page after page at the end of this, and like, I've slogged through some books in the past year, and this was not one of them. I read the last like 100 pages of this, just like, not 100, but like maybe 50. Just like, man, can't wait to see what happens next. This is amazing. Because there's like so many cool and awesome moments at the end.
Yeah, I had to read this in small doses. 3 or 4 chapters at a time. If I read any more, I probably would have thrown this out the window.
And you'd have to buy me another one.
I mean, I read this on the first floor of my house, so it wouldn't have fallen very far, nor would it have landed in anything interesting unless I threw it far enough to land in the fish pond, which would require throwing it out the door, not the window.
Could have landed in a fire. I don't know.
And we probably wouldn't be recording you today if there was a fire that close to my house.
Anyway, they encounter Fritter and whatever the other guy's name was.
Char,
yeah, I think Char.
Kind of like Arctic Char, the fish.
So these are 2 Dog World
archivists.
They live on the spaceship, archiving stuff.
archiving human transmissions.
Yeah, because the dog world is really fascinated with the human world and how it's reversed, and that dogs are the servants and not servants, but dogs are the servants, I guess, and humans are the masters. Whereas on the dog world, it's
there's no humans on the dog
switched,
world,
but there's no dog humans. But they at least know to put the humans in collars and stuff. So
yeah, probably from watching all those human videos where they put dogs in collars.
Maybe there's some humans on the dog world. I don't know.
I'm not sure why the BBC is beaming their transmissions into space. Also in 2010.
You didn't know that they did that? They do that. Well, now you know.
I don't think they do.
That's what you think.
I'm pretty sure I'm correct. It's not like the BBC has a
collab. My cousin works at the BBC. No, okay, no.
It's not like
my
the
cousin
BBC
actually does work at BBC. And
did he say that they beam him into space? You should ask him.
You should.
But then he'll probably give you some smart ass reply like, "Yeah, they beam it into space so they can."
Who told you that?
They can bounce it off the satellites to get it back to Earth.
Maybe and then you'll ask him, and I'll disappear for mysterious reasons soon afterwards.
You'll ask him if they beam it out to the dog world, and he'd be like, "What are you on?
How do you know about the dog world? Who told you?"
And then you mysteriously disappear. Disney goons will come after you. Disney goons haven't come after us yet for those blasphemous statements we said in our Aladdin episode. So,
yeah, check out Triple Play.
So
Char is like the serious archivist, and the like imperialist. Yeah, double agent. And Fritter is like he's running a pirate tapes operation, selling the supposedly secret human world archives on the dog world.
Well, I'm just impressed that Char the double agent has been living as a double agent on the archive station for like 10 years, not doing anything for the Emperor, waiting for this moment. And then he still doesn't do anything for the Emperor until he's on the planet not doing archive duties anymore.
He kills people for the Emperor. That's quite a lot, but...
Yeah, that's what I said, when he's not on the spaceship doing archive duties anymore.
Oh, I misunderstood what you said, I guess. But anyway, the princess is going to show up because she really wants to watch the transmission of the movie adaptation of The True History of Planets.
Oh yeah, the Doctor and his companions get stripped naked because I don't know why.
Because that's how the dogs are in the human world, so...
That's how the dogs are in the dog world, too, so...
Yeah, but I guess they just want to do it, so... Yeah. Can't blame them, really.
I can.
You can, but you shouldn't.
Why not?
Nothing to blame them for.
I can. I can blame them for being unreasonable.
It's pretty reasonable to me.
Doesn't seem reasonable to me.
Oh, well, I guess that's why you blame them and I don't.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Enlightening conversation.
Anyway, Princess is kind of a bitch, but literally, I guess.
They use the word bitch in the story in that context.
Wow, it's supposed to be a PG-rated thing. Well, maybe until the end where it gets super violent.
Well, they use the word bastard as well, so... And the word dog shit, so...
Oh, yeah! Yeah, so the Doctor and friends are taken away. Flossie's really impressed by the TARDIS.
She's making food in the kitchen area, which is apparently in the console room.
Yeah, I think I remember noticing that. Like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Hang on a second.
She's using that food machine that they never mentioned beyond season 1. No, she's not, because she was making like pancakes or something.
Anyway, so the Doctor and them watch this video and this movie, and the Doctor's like, well, let's go mess up the timeline even more than it's already messed up.
Yeah, because The True History of Planets is now actually about events that took place on the dog world, which are supposedly how the current Emperor of the dog world illegally like deposed the previous queen, who's the princess's mom.
Yes.
And the princess is like, hey, wait a minute. The heck?
I mean, when you find out why the Emperor did it, kind of on his side.
Yeah, totally. But like at this point, you're like, wow, Emperor, wow.
You also kind of wonder why the princess can't just make her own propaganda films instead of having Earth make them for her. Clearly, like, videotape and filming technology exists on the dog worlds because they can play videotapes from Earth on dog worlds, so...
Yeah, well... Oh, well.
It's kind of a massive plot
It's
overlooking. It's not a hole. It's just
hole.
kind of an overlooked thing, I think.
Maybe it's not an overlooked thing. It's just that she didn't do it, and like she could have, but she just didn't.
You're meant to overlook it, but when you start to think about it, you're like, hey, wait a minute.
Maybe, I guess. I don't know. I don't consider it much of an overlooking. Where it's just like, I guess that's something she could have done, but like any character could have done otherwise, but they didn't. So
I mean, yeah, but that's it just feels like that would have been way easier than manipulating this guy into changing the timeline
for like 40 years.
Yeah. Like that was a 40-year plan when she could have maybe filmed this in a year if she had done it herself, and then...
No, it takes more than a year to make like a really great movie.
It doesn't have to be great.
Actually, no, that depends. So
it doesn't have to be great.
But you want it to be great. You want it to be the best movie possible.
So she's using it as a propaganda film.
You still want it to be the best movie possible.
You don't need propaganda films to be good. Just look at God's Not Dead.
What is that? Anyway, they can be good. If
they can be, but they don't have to be.
But they don't have to be. No movie has to be good. But like, you could really put that much more effort into it. You could go the extra mile for your propaganda.
I mean, she can time travel. She could like jump 50 years into the future and use their super high-tech tech to make the movie in like a month and make it really good, and then just jump back in time and use it. I don't know.
Yeah, and then she would be making the movie really good.
And also easier.
It'd be worth it.
And easier than manipulating a guy who just happens to have magic pinking shears for 40 years.
Iris Wildtime gave it to him.
Yeah, honestly, Iris Wildtime is the one who
Iris Wildtime is the one who caused all of this. But anyway, she also manipulates William Freer, or yeah, as well as Noel Coward.
Yeah, which just makes it even more. She manipulates two people for 40 years.
I know, it's great. Anyway, she watches the movie and she's like, "The heck is this? The heck is this garbage?"
Yeah, apparently the CG isn't even that good in this movie. She could have done it better if she just gone into the future.
Yeah, that's why, I don't know, this was written in 2002, so, yeah, the CG was like, I don't know, but, yeah, we'll get into that character later, I guess.
Well, so anyway, the doctor's like, we'll just go mess everything up even more.
Well, because they try to fix it, but try to quote-unquote fix it by returning the true history of planets to its previous form. The doctor's like, I don't know what's going on here, but this seems bad, so let's try and fix everything.
Yeah, so they go back, and Char wonders why the doctor doesn't just immediately gun down William Freer in the streets, and honestly, he's kind of right. Most of this could have been avoided if the doctor just gunned down William Freer in the streets.
Yeah, well, again, any of the characters could have done otherwise, but they didn't, so...
Yeah, because the doctor's trying to stick to his moral guns,
his morals. So to speak. Wow. Yeah, so they all split up, and they go to different time periods. The doctor goes to Reginald Tyler's time.
In 1942.
With Char. Angie and Fritter go to the 80s, and
they go to the 70s.
70s, whatever.
Because it takes the movie 40 years to be made. 30 years to be made.
Yeah, well, some time period where the movie's about to be made. And then Fitz and Flossie go to
1960s Vegas.
Yeah.
To see Brenda Subi, who's apparently pretty bad at singing based on Fitz's description of it.
So, yeah, they cut back and forth between these time periods. And I liked that part of the book.
The chapters alternate.
Kept things pretty interesting.
In a logical and easy to follow order. Because honestly, if the chapters had just bounced around at random, I probably would have hated it. But because it was predictable which chapter was going to be next, I liked it.
Yeah, it reminded me sort of a History of Love kind of thing. It's one of the best books ever written, by the way. But I think this actually came before that. But yeah.
Well, so it goes Dr. Fitz, Angie, and it just keeps going and going and going. Anyway, so...
Until they all reconvene at the very end.
Yeah, so because the chapters are split up like that, the characters don't actually get a lot done in the individual chapters, although overall you look back on it and you're like, how do they get all that done?
Well, one of the things this book does is, most Doctor Who books do this, and like a lot of authors do this too. It's generally seen as like a really amateurish technique, but like each section or each chapter, sometimes it's like multiple sections within a chapter, like it's from one character's perspective. So a lot of books do that, and yeah, this does it too. So there you go. Which it makes a lot more sense here because they're all split up.
Yeah.
Whereas in like Spiral Scratch, when they did it, it's just like, stop doing it.
What do you mean Spiral Scratch was the pinnacle of Doctor Who novels?
You have to admit that this was better than Spiral Scratch. If you thought,
I already said I liked this.
Yeah,
I just didn't love it. Just kind of liked it.
Suspicious.
What?
Actually, no, it's not that suspicious, but
Why is that suspicious?
It's questionable.
Why? Because I didn't love it or hate it?
Yeah,
I fall somewhere in the happy medium?
No, just because everything's questionable.
You're not wrong. That doesn't make you right.
Anyway.
Well, so the Doctor infiltrates the Smudgelings. He's supposedly writing a story that inspired by his previous adventures about Zygons and Autons and tigers. Oh my.
Yeah, the Smudgelings are Reginald Tyler and his buddies' literary group, which is sort of like the C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien group.
Except it sounds way more pretentious in this book because it's
not really. If you read stuff about C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien got together and like, hey, let's write some fantasy to convert people to Christianity. That sounds pretty questionable also.
Yeah, but not necessarily pretentious, just questionable. This sounds like, because the way they describe this one in the book, apparently they all think they're the greatest writer in the universe, and Reginald Tyler's
what's his face?
Reginald Tyler's talking about how Clevis's work is uninspired.
Clevis sounds like
useless.
Clevis doesn't sound pretentious. Reginald Tyler does.
Well, I guess because Clevis decided he was going to start writing a children's book that suspiciously sounds a lot like Iris Wildtime.
Yeah.
Yeah, the books that everybody's writing in this group all sound like the Doctor's Adventures, which is supremely suspicious. William Freer's book is like The Shadow of Sutekh or something. And
still haven't watched Pyramids of Mars.
One of the other guys is writing a story about
rewatched it.
Silver Vikings trapped in ice tombs, which is
obviously Silver Nemesis.
Obviously Silver Nemesis.
Silver, I mean, it's in the title. So the Doctor's like, hey, I'm going to write this book too. And,
so the Doctor's not writing a book, but he wants to join the Smudgelings, so he makes up an increasingly convoluted book that he's writing. Yeah,
because he wants to find out who Freer is, because William Freer is like this really successful author who Reginald Tyler is jealous of. And
who wasn't a successful author in the original timeline.
Yeah, and he joins the Smudgelings and starts making them... or like starts becoming their leader almost.
Well, he does some necromancy on them.
Yeah, he's also a magician. He's also a black magician.
Yeah, now he melts Reginald Tyler's face.
Yeah, we're explaining this in the order that is the easiest to explain because throughout all of this we've cut to Angie and Fitz, but it's just too convoluted to explain it that way. So read the book if you want it that way. It's worth it. Costs like $2.
Yeah, probably because everybody who reads it hates it and sells it for cheap. They're like, just get this out of my house. Get this damn black magic out of my house.
Blasphemous, there's witches in this book. We can't be reading this garbage.
Good upstanding Christian parents are like, can't be reading any of this black magic juju. So, yeah, melts Reginald Tyler's face. The Doctor's like, what the hell? And then he chases William Freer.
It takes like 6 months for his face to come back, so that kind of sucks. I wonder how he ate.
Well, he has a hole in his face where his mouth used to be.
I guess they just dumped it down there then. Wonder how he chewed. I guess he didn't eat liquids.
Soup
oh man,
all the time.
That sucks.
So the Doctor chases William Freer onto the train, and one of the chapters ends with this thing where William Freer's like, the man manipulating me is the master. And the Doctor's like, oh, yeah.
Huge red herring that it's the master, but it's actually just his master. Who turns out to be Noel Coward, who's
Who is a real person, right?
What?
Is he a real person?
Like
Noel Coward?
What?
Isn't he? I'm sure I've heard that name before reading this book. I'm almost certain
know.
Noel Coward is a real person.
Okay, I mean, we can look it up right now. It won't take that long. I'd be surprised. I mean, what historical facts?
Yeah, he is.
Huh.
An English playwright, composer, director, actor, and singer, known for his wit, flamboyance, and he died in 1973, as he did in the book.
Wow,
yeah,
I never knew that.
Yeah, I thought he was a real person.
Huh. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, that's why I started wondering if Reginald Tyler was a real person later on, because Noel Coward was I knew Noel Coward was a real person.
Yeah, well, I mean, Reginald Tyler is just the stand-in for J.R.R. Tolkien, so I guess he's kind of real in that way.
And, well, J.R.R. Tolkien didn't have his face melted off by black magic necromancers.
As far as we know.
I feel like it's something you'd write down, or at least mention to somebody.
Yeah, but, I mean, we'll never know, I guess.
Kind of like that time Philip K. Dick claimed he was abducted by aliens.
Yeah, maybe he was, I don't know.
Anyway, so it's Noel Coward, and he's like, I've got these magic pinking shears that let me cut through time, and you're going to have to come with me because I need this movie to be made. And the doctor's like, I guess I don't have a choice, because otherwise you'll just mess up the timeline even more than you already are.
Yeah, so Noel Coward, this isn't the first time you meet him. You meet him in the other timelines first, and you meet him in multiple timelines, and you're like, wait a minute, how is he jumping through timelines? Which sort of makes you think that he's the mastermind behind it all. And in a way, he kind of is. But not really. He's been manipulated too. So I like that part of the book where it's like, who is this guy? How is he in multiple timelines or multiple eras?
I don't think you really think that he's in multiple eras until you get to the 70s.
Well, he shows up in the 70s first, and then he shows up here, and you're like, wait a minute.
He actually shows up in the 60s first.
Oh, yeah, he shows up in the 60s first. But
well, he shows up in the 60s, and then like him showing up here isn't a surprise, because obviously he'd just be younger here. The one that makes you question if he's jumping through timelines is the 70s, when Angie's like, didn't you die in 72? And he's like, I can move around in time. So
yeah, are you sure it wasn't the 80s?
It's the 70s.
I mean, you read it yesterday, and I read it like 3 weeks
70s.
ago, but
it's on the back of the book.
Yeah, it was. Oh yeah, 70s in Hollywood. Yeah, I was trying to find it here on the back of the book. I couldn't. Yeah, that's weird. Maybe it was late 70s, 79 or so. I think they actually mentioned it was like 79 or something.
Something like that.
Yeah. So Noel Coward, pretty cool character.
Wonder how the real Noel Coward would feel about being in this book, but the real Noel Coward also died in 1970. I think it was 3. Yeah, 3. So he would never have read this book.
As far as we know.
I mean, this was published in 2002, so.
I mean, as far as we know.
I think we can be pretty certain about this one.
Of all the things from the afterlife.
Of all the things on this show that we've been uncertain about, I think this is the one we can be most certain about.
I mean, probably, but yeah, I don't know.
What do we know?
So the 60s plays out as Fitz really wants to go gambling. So they do that, and then Flossie, like, hangs out for a while, and she's like, hey, I got tickets to this show.
Well, so the doctor told them to go meet up with Brenda Subi, and Fitz is like, I'll just go gambling, and then Flossie scores tickets to the show somehow.
Wasn't it that the doctor, this might have been with Angie, wasn't it that the doctor said, like, hey, there's specific things you guys gotta do in these time periods, but I'm gonna be really vague about it.
He just told them what they needed to know, because apparently the doctor right now is going through this whole, the universe has a master plan for each of us phase. But he tells Fitz that he needs to meet Brenda Subi, and he tells Angie she needs to be in that bar at that time.
Yeah, I think he just tells them that they need to go to the show. Not necessarily that they need to meet her. Just like, hey, be at this show.
So
they do that.
Yeah, the doctor's cosmic fate theory works out pretty well for him in this story.
Yeah, it does. Fitz puts on a specific piece of clothing. I don't even remember what it was, but they mention it like 70 times throughout the book.
Really? Because I didn't notice that at all.
It's like a fancy shirt or something like that. They just keep mentioning it over and over and over. Not that it's a bad thing, but yeah, they do that. So whether he does that, Paul Magrs does that.
So he's with Brenda Subi.
And some guy's like, hey man,
I'm going to kill you.
He presses a gun to his back or something. And then Flossie like talks away out of it. He's like, "You wouldn't shoot here in this crowd full of people." And the guy's like, "Shoot, you're right. Oh shoot, I didn't mean to do that. Shoot, I did it again." Shoot pun, yeah.
But also, that's completely not true because I'm pretty sure the Mafia ran Vegas in the 60s, so...
Yeah, no, the Mafia created Vegas, or
Yeah, I know
made
that.
it what it is.
Yeah, no, they basically created it because they built the... they basically funded the Flamingo, which is the first big hotel in Vegas. So I'm pretty sure that what Flossie's saying here is completely not true, because I'm pretty sure, at least in the 60s, the Mafia still holds some massive influence over Vegas, so he could probably just totally get away with it.
Well, I think they still do, maybe, but I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't do it in the middle of a big show, so I really don't know. But he's like, as soon as you guys leave, you're going down. Ha ha ha.
And then at the end of the show, also Brenda's singing songs that haven't even been written yet.
Yeah, so that's pretty suspicious.
Poorly. She's not singing so much as yelling over the songs, kind of like how William Shatner sings. But anyway,
gotta get that jab in.
I mean, have you heard William Shatner's albums?
No.
It's just him reading the lyrics over a backing track of the song. It's not a joke.
Anyway, I don't know if I'm making this up, or no, I mean, not making this up, but I don't know if I was just imagining this in this way or if it's in the book, but I imagined Brenda Subies having the giant beehive type haircut.
I didn't imagine that.
So maybe it's not in the book. Or maybe you just missed it, I don't know.
I don't think it's in the book. This book did very little explaining of how everybody looked like outright. You had to kind of pick it all up from context clues, like the Doctor's beard.
Yeah, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but some people like a lot of detailed explanation. And if you do, you probably like crap written in the 1800s a lot.
I mean, I would have at least liked to know what the heck Angie looked like. Apparently, she's of either Indian or Pakistani descent. The wiki says that
Based on her last name.
Well,
so.
the wiki says the novels are super inconsistent about whether it's India or Pakistan, and apparently there are contradictory accounts.
Well, I mean, it used to be the same country before like 50 years ago, so...
Yeah, but she's from like 2000s era London.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's mostly the same culture, so yeah.
Yeah, but some people think it's an important distinction to make, and it is
I guess.
to an extent.
I guess, I don't know. I mean, my whole family's from India, actually, so just thought I'd put that out there before. Seems like I'm making really insensitive comments, which I am, but yeah, this kind of makes it better, barely, so there you go.
Fractionally.
Anyway.
Yeah, so they go to her room, and she's got a talking dog named Martha, and you find out later Martha's also a double agent, but she's working for the princess. Noel Coward is...
Felt really bad for Iris Wildtime at the end when Martha died.
I mean...
Kind of a reverse situation from what's Victor and Master, I guess.
She's kind of the whole reason all of this happens.
We'll get there.
So...
We'll get there. They're escaping from the assailant. They go back to Brenda's hotel. They sort of discuss what's going on.
Noel Coward shows up.
Yeah, Noel Coward is there too.
And he... Well, they try to escape, but then Jag shows up and tries to kill them, but they lock him in an elevator.
What?
They lock him in an elevator.
This was such a cool reveal to me. I was like, whoa, he's alive.
I kind of expected him to be alive, because getting crushed by the TARDIS is something that hasn't happened before. Midas Slyke, on the other hand, that was a cool reveal to me, because I actually thought she was dead.
Well, I kind of forgot about them, actually, because I read the first chapter like a week and a half before, and then I picked it up and read like probably 100 more pages within 2 days, like a week later or so. So yeah, I kind of forgot about those two characters, so maybe that's why I enjoyed it a little more.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to spread the book out instead of just cramming it all in.
I mean, I read the first 3 chapters a week ago today, but really only like 6 days before I read the entire book, the entire rest of the book.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I usually find books more enjoyable if I spread them out instead of cramming them all in to like a day. I guess it depends on the book.
I haven't noticed.
Or maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know.
I haven't really noticed a difference either way in my enjoyment of stories. So,
maybe I don't know.
So they get to Brenda's bus, and Fitz is
Yeah,
like,
it's-
"Wait a minute, I've seen this before."
They're in a parking lot, an underground parking lot, and they're like, gotta get to my car, and then all of a sudden it's revealed to be a bus, and you're like, wait a minute, is she Iris Wildtime? And
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, so apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently Paul Magrs shoehorns Iris Wildtime into everything he writes. It's pretty funny, actually.
It's funny, but it feels kind of like a self-insert escapist fantasy character to me. Because she's basically
Maybe.
exactly like the Doctor
Maybe.
in every way.
She's female. Is Paul Magrs gay?
I have no idea. That's not generally something I'm looking up when I'm looking up the
Well, I mean,
writers of all
if
these
you
stories.
self-insert as a female character,
Maybe
I would
he-
think that you would be, if you're a dude.
Maybe
so-
he just likes women so much he wants to be one? Question mark?
I don't know.
I don't know. Your self-insert
I-
character doesn't have to be exactly like you in every way.
The only, well, I mean, I don't know, but I feel like most dudes, most straight dudes wouldn't self-insert as a woman, but I don't even see her as a self-insert of his, maybe because I haven't read enough of his stuff and haven't read enough Iris Wildtime stuff, but the only thing that kind of makes me think that that's true is that she appears in everything he writes. Maybe he just really likes her as a character and doesn't self-insert as her.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, she's exactly like the Doctor in almost every way, so
Yeah, I mean, you can really like the Doctor without self-inserting as him.
yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is if the Doctor exists, why create a character that's exactly like him in every way except for that purpose? Is kind of what I'm trying to get at.
I don't know. I mean, that doesn't really make sense to me. Like, just because she's a female, like not foil, but like clone, I guess, of the Doctor, doesn't really. Yeah, I guess it just doesn't make sense to me.
Okay,
So,
I mean, because like I just don't know
And
why
you
he
get
wouldn't
Kitty Manning to play her. So
use the Doctor in those situations where he introduces.
just another interesting character, I guess. But maybe she's a self-insert. I have no idea. We could just ask Paul Magrs. He probably wouldn't reply, but could ask him.
Well, anyway, she's
So they get to her bus, and Fitz is
they
like,
drive
"Wait
out
a
into
minute."
the desert,
Yeah.
and then they get captured by
By
Midas
Meow.
Like, and she takes them to the dog world.
Yeah, where Reginald Tyler has, you find out later, been taken.
Now, and then we get Angie, and Angie
Well,
does
not
a
then, but
Angie does a much poorer job of completing her
a
mission.
much poorer job.
Oh boy, wow. We didn't mention that her last name is Kapoor, so no one in the audience got that.
I mumbled it like 3 minutes ago, or whenever we were talking about her.
You just kind of mumbled because of her last name, and not what it was.
No,
But anyway,
I'm pretty sure I mumbled Kapoor or something like at that volume. So yeah,
yeah. Well, when you're listening this back for show notes, you'll either see that you were correct or that you were wrong. But you'll see. You'll see.
well, I mean, I'll hear
You could just look at the waveform.
and decipher it.
Yes.
Anyway, she's like, man, the Doctor really didn't tell me what to do, so except go to this bar, so I'm gonna do it. Man, the Doctor's kind of a jerk because he hasn't gotten me back to my home time. He just kind of doesn't do that, but he can go to really specific eras, as was proven by how he got me here. Dick.
Good point. But then she mentions that she's never confronted the Doctor about that.
Yeah,
so...
wasn't there something like a couple lines later? It's like, then again, I don't really want to go home. So.
Yeah. So.
I mean, I can kind of see where she's coming from, though, especially if this ties into another overarching plot line for later books where she maybe does want to go home. So.
Overarching plotline that we know nothing about. So.
Yep. So she meets what's his face, the special effects guy.
Arnhem, I think.
Yeah.
Is his name.
He's like, man, can't believe I'm the best special effects person in Hollywood.
He does like
Feels
practical
good.
effects. And apparently,
Which are like almost all there are in the 70s. I don't know how
Yeah.
much they were using computers to generate effects. Probably not that much, if at all.
so apparently, Oscar-nominated director John Fukas or Fuchas,
Or fuck us. What?
Okay.
All I'm doing is pronouncing it. Fuchas.
Might have to beep that out. Already have a couple words that I had to beep out earlier in this episode, so...
Anyway, she meets him. He's like... I forget why they go off to his house.
Oh, yeah, so, because Fritter blows the whole freaking mission by talking. And Von Arnhem's like, what the hell? So Fritter also apparently brought with him a copy of the movie, and they show it...
Gotta run that pirate tapes operation wherever you go.
So they show it to Von Arnhem, and he's like, I bet I gotta go kill John now.
Yeah, because Fuchs promised Von Arnhem that his next movie would, like, he would use his effects, and then he saw that the movie wasn't made for like 30 more years, and he used digital effects, and Von Arnhem was like, oh hell no, gotta go kill him because he betrayed me.
Yeah, I don't know who John Fuchs is supposed to represent.
George Lucas, I guess.
Yeah, but George Lucas didn't take 30 years to make a movie.
Yeah, no, he didn't. I mean...
Did any director take 30 years to really make a movie? I know there's a couple of, like, famous movies that took a long time to make, but I don't remember any of them right now.
Maybe? I don't know. There's a lot of movies that were in, like...
I just keep thinking of Duke Nukem Forever, which took, like, 40 years to make. Which is a video game, though.
It apparently turned out as garbage, but anyway... I know there's a couple famous movies, I forget what they are right now, that were in, like, development limbo for a really long time, but I don't know if they were ever, like, completely attached to one director for the entire time. There must be something that took, like, 20 years to make that was just one guy.
Well, that movie Boyhood took 16 years to make. Because,
yeah, I think I heard about that. Wasn't that the one where they used the same actor from childhood into when he, like, his 20s?
Which is why it took so long to make.
Yeah.
There's also that like 400-hour movie or something like that, some ridiculously long movie.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, Boyhood?
No, a different movie.
Oh, gotta watch that for
no, thank you.
Something.
It's also that Atlas Shrugged trilogy where they use a different actor for every role in all three movies because the actors hated working on it so much and the movie sucked so bad they just quit after each movie. So. That's always funny to me.
Anyway, yeah, they go back to Von Arnhem's house. Well, they already did that. They already did that, but they start... Von Arnhem is like starts driving crazily.
To Fuchs' house.
Yeah. And Angie's like, oh god, I'm gonna die of this maniac driver. They realize someone's tailing them, too, to the house.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like Jag or Midas-like, but no, it's Noel Coward.
Yep.
And he's like, I'll get you guys in. And they go in, and Noel's like, I need this movie to be made. And Von Arnhem's like, yeah. And then, okay, so this is where the timelines converge. So the Doctor and Char show up with young Noel.
Yeah, because this is where this is where Noel Coward in the Doctor's, or in Reginald Tyler's era, uses the shears to show the Doctor the sea of time, or it's not the web of time, it's something else.
It's the very fabric of space and time.
Yeah, that.
With every word capitalized.
And there's a ton of Noel Cowards just floating around in there. What could possibly go wrong?
Reminds me of the ending to Bioshock Infinite, which I won't spoil.
Spoiler alert. No, I don't care. Just spoil it.
No, because some people listening to this might want to play it, and because it's better if it's unspoiled.
I actually already know the ending anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Foiled again.
I'm never going to play it, though. So, yeah.
So they meet up with super old Noel Coward, and he's like, they merge into one Noel Coward somehow.
Yeah. I liked the part where, because Von Arnhem is using his models to attack Fuchs, and Fuchs is like, wait a minute, how are you using the models? Like, what is this, remote control? Is this like some black magic stuff? Like, what is this? Von Arnhem's like, don't worry about it. And they never explain it. That part was great.
Yeah, I just assumed they were like animatronics gone rogue. Or they call them homunculi later.
He used some dinosaurs, I remember. Because apparently his next movie was going to be about dinosaurs or something, but yeah.
His first movie was about dinosaurs.
So maybe that's what it was.
Anyway, so
Ties him up and for some BDSM stuff. So it seems like that's how they described it. Really is. Yeah, go back and read it.
I didn't get that at all.
Hmm.
In fact, I didn't even realize he had been tied up. I thought he was just sitting in the chair being menacingly threatened by the monsters because Von Arnim was like getting in his face and the doctor just sucker punches him.
No, yeah, just tied
Well,
up.
anyway, then the posse go to the future. They leave John Fuchs behind and he gets killed by the animatronics.
What a way to go.
Unintentional, but
Apparently they eat him because there's like no remains.
there's a skeleton.
Yeah, they eat all his flesh.
So they end up in the dog world with the other Noel Coward that's with Fitz and Brenda
Yeah,
and Martha.
so they're at this like resort because apparently the capital is like this resort city, and Reginald Tyler's been there for a while. This is where the dog who kidnapped him on the last day of his life, quote unquote, took him.
Oh, we didn't even explain Brenda's relationship to this whole thing. Apparently, Noel Coward was going to write a song for Brenda about Martha that was going to be the theme tune for the movie.
Yeah, Martha's the dog. I
and
think
Martha
we
was going to
that
become like a
briefly.
martyr. Oh,
Yeah.
Wow. Martyr. Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. That's almost as bad as Jade being deaf and Master.
Well, it's Char and Fritter also. I don't know what their names had to do with like cooking or frying, but that's what it was. So
Arctic char, the fish. A lot of people eat Arctic char. It's like a seafood staple.
yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's like Char and Fritter. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just explaining where the char comes from because fritter's obvious. You eat like apple fritters or whatever. But char is less obvious because Arctic char is kind of a weird fish if you think about it.
I mean, I never heard of it, so
Yeah, see,
I just
that's
thought
kind of
of
exactly my
Char
point.
as like the charred remains.
It could be, but then you'd be a pretty garbage cook if all your
Yeah.
food is charred.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Yeah.
So they're locked up, but then they escape, and because super old last day of his life Noel Coward has showed up because William Freer revealed to him that he's
He's been working with the princess for like 40
also
years.
been boning the
they're-
princess, which is the most horrifying part of this book.
Yeah, there's some bestiality stuff in this. Because, yeah, we get this scene at the end where Noel Coward and Freer are in like Jamaica just hanging out, and Reginald Tyler's wife is on a boat coming to get married to Freer, or they're already married, something like that.
Also, the queen is coming for some weird reason.
Yeah. And Freer's like, by the way, Noel, I've been manipulating you this whole time. I was in it with the princess, and we devised this entire plan to depose the emperor because the emperor's actually not such a bad guy. You'd find
Also,
out.
we deposed the royal family of England.
Yeah, no, that's their ultimate goal.
Well, it happened because the door opens to the car and Noel Coward sees the
Oh
dog
yeah,
step
okay,
out.
yeah, that happened. But yeah, it's their goal. It's the princess's goal for some reason. I think there's actually a liner like, "Why do you want to do that?" And they're like, "I don't know, I just do."
William Freer wants to rule the world side by side with the princess. She's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna do it alone, and tears his throat
Yeah,
out.
because deposing the royal family of England is a great way to rule the world. I mean, maybe like a couple hundred years ago.
Yeah, not in 1973. And so
That's their plan.
Char kills the princess. There's blood everywhere. They describe how everybody's slipping on the blood. He throws the mangled body.
They watch the movie again. We forgot that they wheel in this TV and they watch the movie again in the throne room.
And it's been returned to normal somehow. I guess Noel Coward buggering off out of the 60s ruined William Freer's influence on...
Something like that.
Or William Freer getting killed in the future did it. What if the princess just undid her whole plan by bringing in William Freer from the wrong time zone and killed him before he could manipulate
Probably.
Tyler, and the whole thing just fell apart because of that.
Yeah, probably. But anyway, yeah, there, like you said, there's a giant bloodbath and most of the characters die.
Not really.
Well, not
Two
really.
characters die.
Char kills
Three,
the prince.
if you count Martha.
Char kills the princess. Martha jumps off of
jumps
this
out
balcony
the building. She just commits suicide.
because she was working for the princess all along, like we briefly mentioned before. And Iris Wildtime
Brenda.
Is Brenda, which we also kind of mentioned. But Iris Wildtime, she finds out that Martha's a double agent, but she still loves Martha as her dog, not romantically. But
Thank God.
And yeah, I kind of felt for Iris Wildtime here, like this dog who was her sole companion for such a long time and who she really trusted. They really play up the whole trust thing between Martha and Iris. And she finds out that she was a double agent the entire time. And at the end, I really liked, she's like, well, she was a double agent, but doesn't erase all the good times we had, so I feel pretty bad about that. So
doesn't erase the fact that you caused a violent and bloody revolution either.
I know that, like, that's why she was so distraught. Like, Martha was such a terrible person, but like they got along so much, and it doesn't erase in her mind their friendship, even if it was all fake. So like I can feel for that.
I didn't feel anything.
Maybe it's because you weren't as invested in the plot and characters as I was.
Or I just didn't feel anything. That's kind of okay.
Yeah, sure.
They kind of rush over it too, because then Noel Coward's like, "Let's sing a song."
Yeah, so they do that. I think Noel and Brenda. Well, Brenda goes to sing, and Noel goes to play the piano, or someone plays the piano.
It's Noel.
Apparently, they have one in the throne room. And all's well that ends well, I guess. The Emperor.
Doctor returns everyone to their rightful places in history, except for Flossie.
Except for Angie.
Except for Flossie and Fritter, who are like, we're gonna go with Iris Wildtime for some reason. Oh yeah, Midas Slight kills Jag.
Yeah. I don't remember the cops. Actually.
She has the cops
open
that's
the
elevator,
very end,
and then Jag jumps out victoriously and starts running away, and Slyke just steps on him. Kind of wonder why they hired an insect at Meow. But anyway.
Yeah, maybe this was all just part of the Emperor's plan to become a really terrible emperor after this and take over everything.
Well, I mean,
you never know.
Pretty sure he can't be as bad as the princess or her mom, because they were dabbling in black magic and were killing off, poodles. Just we didn't mention all the dogs are poodles, by the way.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, but I wanted some variety. I wanted some German Shepherds and some Border Collies, some Labradors would have been good.
I didn't imagine them all as poodles. I only imagined the royal ones as poodles, and I imagined Char and Fritter as, I don't know, small dogs whose breed that I don't know.
They're poodles.
Well, they are, but
I think they even said that
this book is
there's
that you
only
imagine
poodles
them
on Dog World.
Yeah, no, they did say that.
So
that's what they are. They're all poodles, but yeah.
Yeah,
you can just imagine them as shaved poodles. So
I wanted some variety. I want my dog to be represented in this book. Okay, well, my dog's a mutt. And then there's a one-page chapter 34, which is some kittens show up on Noel Clugg's doorstep with this blind lady.
Noel Coward.
Yeah, Noel Coward. Oops.
Who's Noel Clugg?
I don't know. I think I'm mixed up the words I was trying to say. Noel Coward.
Some kittens show up and they're like, "Hey, we need some help on the cat world."
No. They called it Pussy World.
Oh, yeah. All right. And he's like, "Haha, no." The end.
Yeah.
Overall, one of the most enjoyable Doctor Who stories ever written, in my opinion. Bravo, Paul Magrs. Bravo. I had like I said before, last 50 pages were just me turning the pages.
You can email us at the...
I mean, if you really have nothing to say, then sure.
I only just liked it. I didn't love it. I just thought it was okay. I admired what it was trying to do, but at the same time, I think at some point it was just silly.
Yeah, I know.
And not silly in the way that like City of Death was. The Doctor was running around being funny silly. It was just silly in that I thought things that happened were silly.
I wouldn't describe City of Death as silly like at all. But like I mentioned before, one of the reasons I liked this was because it had those silly moments. It's kind of a silly premise, I guess. When they like they actually play it serious like most of the time, where it's like some actual cool reveals, plot twists, and like this time jumping plot line, which you don't get much of in Doctor Who, at least in the classic series. And yeah, just an overall like really actually enjoyable story, and not played up like, wow, look at how quirky and weird we're being, like, look, this is so funny and stuff. But
I feel like they kind of Paul Magrs kind of was doing that though, like when he wrote down the very fabric of space and time, where every letter was capitalized, like it was supposed to be some funny name for the thing because it was capitalized and so formal or whatever. It felt like a lot of the little touches he put in there were specifically to be quirky. And
yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying, I guess. It's like it had that, but then it also had like the elements were like, whoa, this is actually a really enjoyable and good story that I'm having a lot of fun reading. So that's why I liked it. Probably up there in my top 3. Possibly, well, I don't know if I'd say I like this more than Armageddon Factor, which if you don't know, I meant, I don't know how you don't know if you actually listen, because I say it's my favorite serial like every episode. But yeah, this might be the best one. This might be the best one.
You have poor taste.
That's like your opinion, man.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
Doesn't change my opinion. You saying it's my opinion doesn't change my opinion. But I might have poor taste too. So, who even knows anymore? You can email us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on Mad Dogs and Englishmen. The name comes from a saying from Britain. We also used to say it in South Africa. That only people who would do certain dumb things are mad dogs and Englishmen. So,
yeah.
In case you American listeners didn't know. So I feel like everybody else who listens would know what that means.
I mean, I knew. Well, I didn't know. I knew it was a saying, but I didn't know what it was used for. So.
Yeah, like going to Death Valley in the summer. Only mad dogs and Englishmen would do that. Anyway, you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. All at Trust Your Doctor. Leave a rating if you like the show. Next week, we finally get to actually watch something on TV again. Thank God.
Check us on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us on Twitter at TYD Podcast. And follow us on Twitter. And next week, we're watching, finally, Dimensions in Time. But until then, the end.